Hello K-Divas and welcome to this tutorial. In this video I'm going to be sharing how to customize a basic bodice pattern to allow for a more comfortable fit around the tummy area. So if you're someone who is looking to just have, a little bit of a detail there, so when you sit down or when you have that food belly happening, or if you are someone who is pregnant and your belly is growing to accommodate your little one, this is something that might be useful for you. If you'd like to see how I made these changes, make sure to keep on watching, give this video a thumbs up at this point, and with that being said, let's jump straight into the tutorial. Before we get started, I just wanted to put a disclaimer here for anyone who is watching. I'm not pregnant. The purpose of this video is for educational purposes, to show how to adapt a basic bodice pattern for a more comfortable fit around the tummy. So please keep that in mind and let's get into this video. Now I'm going to be working from my basic bodice, which I have as a separate tutorial on my channel if you haven't seen it already. On that video, which I made like 4 years ago, and it has gotten so much love in that time span, I made how to show a basic bodice, which is the pattern that covers the top half of the body, so from your shoulder to around your hip, and I made the front and the back in that tutorial. So if you don't have one for yourself, I recommend you create one. I also have a PDF if you don't want to go through the headache of making your pattern. The PDF goes from a UK size 6 to 16, so you can consider that option as well. Now the changes are going to be made on the front, and I have my front here. I traced off the front pattern onto another pattern paper because I like to keep my plan in its original state, so I just need to trace off and make changes on that duplicate that I have made. So I'm going to set my original copy or my main pattern aside, and then I'm going to be working on this copy that I made here to the left side of the screen. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut along the waistline. Now this video is such a huge experimentation. This was my first time doing this, and I'm just hoping that it turns out well and you guys enjoy this project. Once I was done cutting the waistline, I'm going in here to cut away the waist dart that goes towards the bust line, and the aim here is to actually shift the dart to the bust line. So I've just taped it halfway through, and I'm going to cut along the bust line, and I'm going to stop cutting just around 1 inch before the actual bust point. Once that is cut, I'm going to fold in this part of the bodice like so it moves the dart width to that side part that we've cut along the bust line. I'm going to tape that down just to hold it in place, and once that is done, I'm going to go ahead to join this part of the pattern as well, so I have a whole connected piece together to work with. Now I've added some extra pattern paper underneath, and I'm just adding some sellotape to join the front that we've adapted onto the paper underneath, and I'm going to be drawing in a side seam that actually connects the sides together since we have made these changes. I'm also going to be drawing in the dart edges for my bust dart now that I've transferred from my waist, and that should be about the same width as your waist dart if I have done this correctly. So once I was done doing this, I'm just going in here to cut away the excess paper along the side seam, and this is what it is looking like. Now for the actual adaptation for the tummy area, I have marked 4.5 inches below the waistline, and that is where I'm going to be slashing and spreading. With my paper scissors, I'm cutting along that 4.5 inch drop. That drop is the distance from my waistline to around where my belly button is, so I recommend you work with yours or that of your client for the best fit and the best outcome. So once I had that cut and separated into two parts, a top half and a bottom half, I added some extra paper underneath, and this part really depends on you. Now here I added about 3 inches. I believe it was about 3 to 4.5 inches. That was the extra I added between the two panels. If you want more room, you add more. If you want less room, you add less. This will also be a very clever way to add like a ruching or pleating detail around your tummy. If you don't want to have your bodice just smooth all the way, you could also apply this effect or this detail on a dress pattern as well. If you don't want to have like a bodycon style, but you want that detail around your tummy. Once I had that spread across, I'm just going in here to draw the center front edge and the side seam, so there is a connection between the top and the bottom that accommodates for the extra measurement that I just added. Once I have done that, I'm going to go and grab my paper scissors yet again and cut away any extra paper. Recycle your paper, they always come in very handy, especially if you're someone that does patterns a lot like me. I'm just going in here to add a grain line so it's clear and easy for me to cut this pattern onto fabric. Now this is what the front pattern is looking like, and we're only going to be making changes to the front because that's where we want to make our customizations for the basic bodice. Once you're happy with that, it is time to test. I always suggest testing if you're trying out a style or a project for the first time. You just want to be sure that everything is coming out the way you want it to come out, and then if you want to make any corrections to your pattern, you know where to make the corrections. Now I'm just cutting the pattern onto some scrap fabric that I had in the studio. This is just a simple brown satin fabric, and I'm just cutting the front as well as the back. The back I'm just cutting with the main pattern, so there is not a lot, there's no changes made it on the back. And then I'm cutting my notches for the side darts, the bust darts, the waistline, as well as the width of how much I would need to gather or ruche back in along the side. Now onto sewing. For the sewing part, I'm going to go in to actually gather up those extra measurements I added along the side. I'm also going to go in to stitch the bust darts on the front and then the back darts on the back, so I get a rough idea of what it fits like when I try it on, when I'm done sewing it all together. Once I was done stitching everything in place, you have the option of just pressing down your darts at this point, or you could just wait till the end and press everything together. I'm just going here to finish the back dart on this side of my back, and I kept my center back open so I can go in to actually wear it and check it. Now on this side I have sewn with the loosest stitch, and I'm gathering that in as much as I can because I want the side seam of the front to fit the side seam of the back. So you want to either gather or pleat or use an elastic to ruche in all that excess, but it would then keep whatever extra measurement you've added just in the middle, and then you gather it up on the side. Now I'm sewing up the side seams of the front to the side seams of the back. I'm also going to go in to stitch the shoulder seams as well for the left and the right hand side of this test piece that I am making. I'm going to give it a quick press and then try it on just to check for the fit. Now this is what it looks like on when I popped it on just to check for how it fits. Like this, it already looks like a very cool detail. If you're not even someone who is pregnant, or if you don't have a large tummy that you're trying to, you know, finesse with your clothing, like this, it already looks really cool. But I made a makeshift belly with like some fabric bundles just to show you guys how it would sit around a growing bum. So you can add more measurements along the side if you want more volume on the front, or you add less if you just want to keep it as a detail. Here's a before and after comparison. I just thought this would be a very helpful video to make because I've gotten a lot of comments from you guys asking how you can adapt a basic bodice for either someone who has a big tummy or someone who is pregnant and has a growing belly. I hope this came in handy. Now I would say for the bust dart, rather than do it straight like I have done here, I found that when I tried it on, it looked really strange on the side of the body. Rather than have it straight, I would say aim to have it as a slanted dart rather than straight. So instead of just cutting it the way I did, try and slant your line like this and then cut along that line so you transfer the difference from your waistline to that side dart to make your bust dart. I hope that made sense. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Huge shout outs to all of the supporters of the channel through paid membership. All my K-Divas, thank you so much for the love and support so far. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Until next time, have a good morning, afternoon and evening wherever you are. Bye.